You wrote the book Holistic Healing for Anxiety, Depression, and Cognitive Decline. How did you become a writer, and what was the inspiration and intention of writing this book?
I became a writer just because I had some things I wanted to say and that weren't out there. And the inspiration behind this book was I noticed that the clients of mine and the students of mine who were vegan were the most fragile, the most emotionally fragile. I thought, well, that's curious. And I was a vegetarian myself at the time, and I was becoming a bit more etheric by being vegetarian. I started eating meat, and I started feeling more grounded. And I started looking at diet as a contributing factor to emotional difficulties. So I think of us as being psychophysical beings. For simplicity, we can talk about the psychological level, heart, mind, spirit, and we can talk about the physical level. So we have a self, a psychological self, and we have a brain. So all four of these levels, body, heart, mind, spirit, we experience through the self, psychologically, and we also experience these through the brain. So in psychology and psychiatry, there's a big split, like depression, for example, is seen by the medical profession and psychiatry as a biological illness. Psychology, on the other hand, psychotherapists see depression as a psychological problem that, due to unskillful behavior and difficulties in coping, that's what creates the brain problems that we see. Like, are the brain problems the result of a biological illness, or are the brain problems the result of psychological poor functioning? It's a chicken and egg sort of thing. And researching this and exploring and experimenting with my diet and the diet of my clients, I began to realize that the brain is really under assault right now. There are more neurotoxins in the environment than there ever have been in the history of the world. Mercury, lead, cadmium, arsenic, but many of them people don't know about. In addition to this, the brain is under attack from smog, from environmental pollutants. These very small pollutants, 2.5 microns and below, are so small, they enter the lungs into the bloodstream and they cross the blood-brain barrier into the brain, where they act like little wrecking balls to the neurons there, the delicate neurons. And that creates inflammation in the brain. And inflammation is one of the drivers of depression, of anxiety, and of cognitive decline. Pesticides. The most commonly used pesticide in the world is glyphosate, Roundup. 300 million pounds are used in the United States every year. And so the brain also begins to get toxins into it, which also creates inflammation. So we get leaky gut, we get leaky brain. I could go on and on and on. Anxiety, depression, and cognitive decline are skyrocketing. Alzheimer's is 5 times what it was in the 1960s. It turns out there are some common neural mechanisms behind anxiety, depression, and cognitive decline. There are very different psychological processes. And so what this book does is tries to put together both the neural brain side as well as the psychological side, and looking at that and putting them both together.